Welcome to the guide, Exile. Not only did I make another Minion build, but I made it back to back with my only other Minion build. This is like something out of a sci-fi novel. What we have here is a build that focuses purely on scaling the Agony Crawler from Herald of Agony gem, and we have gone and put it on a Gladiator. The Agony Crawler is a damage immune minion that is spawned by stacking poison on enemies. For every poison that you inflict, you will gain a stack of virulence. For each stack of virulence, the Agony Crawler gains increased damage, increased attack speed, and flat physical damage. These values change per Herald of Agony gem level. 40 is the maximum number of virulence stacks that you can get. Virulence stacks will fall off naturally as they last for a certain duration, and the higher number of virulence stacks, the shorter that duration is. So to keep the stack at 40, you will have to be constantly attacking. The Agony Crawler attacks with two main skills: a split arrow-like skill that fires 5 non-piercing projectiles, and a ground-targeted barrage that fires 4 projectiles and hits incredibly hard. It seems that the ground-targeted barrage is either on a cooldown or chosen to be used at certain times by the crawler itself. It also appears that the crawler converts a percentage of its physical damage to chaos damage. The values are currently really unknown via in-game, wiki, or data mining, but in ZiggyD's initial behind-the-scenes video of this skill, he stated that the split was 60% physical and 40% chaos. So to make this Agony Crawler work, we have to stack poisons very quickly, maintain them, as well as be able to get good sustain to keep us alive while the minion does the damage. Since the Agony Crawler gains so much from its own gem scaling and just the minion nodes in the tree, we can really use whatever Ascendancy that we want, as well as invest in a lot of life. I chose to go with the Gladiator to get max block and generic tankiness. As for stacking poisons on this setup, there are two great skills for this: Molten Strike or Cyclone. Of course, I think you know which one I chose. Cyclone is a great option here, especially for mapping. However, Molten Strike gives much better sustain, positioning, and utility in my opinion. Now remember that our Molten Strike does no damage, and it is not supposed to. It is our utility skill for poisons, elemental equilibrium, blind, maim, and life gain on hit. So let's get to parrying. So I'll start off by saying this build works extremely well in most all scenarios, but can be a hassle in some due to minion AI. I was able to bring this build all the way through Shapers, Guardians, Shaper, and Uber Elder, with the Agony minion absolutely shredding them. I only had one silly death on Uber Elder due to a chill and vision loss on Shaper's moves. With all the block, evasion, armor, and life gain on hit, I was able to stand in all content and only moving out of telegraphed moves. Where the build struggles is in tight maps and in some delves depending on their layouts. The minion will often get stuck attacking partially behind walls and or lag behind you because it cannot kill certain enemies due to darkness or an invulnerability. I've tried a few gem swaps which do help out, but the main solution would be to get a convocation somewhere in your setup just to pull the minion to you in times of need. So for map clearing speed, this is certainly not the fastest, but it will be very reliable and can do all map modifiers. For the current setup, I spent somewhere between 5 to 6 exalts on items, not including the 6-link chest or Elder Ring, of which I linked and crafted by luck. I would have to say that this is an incredibly low cost for how tanky and durable we can make the build, and still get Uber Elder shredding DPS. Considering for most Molten Strike builds, you will be spending double the investment on just Azoth's Blood Amulet, and you'll have to worry about your actual weapon DPS. Offensively, we are relying solely on the Herald of Agony Crawler. Again, he is dealing all of our damage, not our own attack skills. We are then supporting the crawler with minion damage from the tree, jewels, gem links, and virulence stacks. A Generosity Hatred grants the crawler 50% of physical damage as cold. Along with this, we also use a physical to lightning gem to convert the remaining physical damage of the crawler to lightning damage, as well as gaining some extra lightning damage. Now to make that extra elemental damage work for us, we get elemental equilibrium from the tree. This is where Molten Strike comes in. It will trigger elemental equilibrium on fire damage and make enemies weak to cold and lightning damage. We then curse them with a projectile weakness through a curse on hit Tempest shield, and then finally we trigger a spirit offering to grant the crawler some extra chaos damage. Defensively, we are going for max block, and even pushing our max block up to 82% with the right items. The Gladiator gives us the base to do this, but we will also need proper itemization to get close to this cap. With my current setup, I sit around 73% block chance without any on hit or block recently buffs. However, as soon as we get hit or block, we will be right on that 82% cap. Beyond block, we maim enemies to reduce their movement speed to getting to us. We can also knock them back with projectile weakness to keep them at bay, and blind to reduce their chance of even hitting us if they do get to us. When they do hit us, we have sizable amounts of armor to mitigate this. To recover, we have life gain on hit from claws and Elder Rings that'll shoot our life back up almost instantly with Molten Strike, along with some passive regeneration. For mapping, you will want to turn on Blood Rage and Tempest Shield first. After this, simply shield charge around the map, hitting enemies with Molten Strike to gain virulence and maintain your minion. Since you are generally not getting the kills, you will have to maintain your Blood Rage with your own manual casting. Bosses are much in the same. Make sure to just have your Blood Rage and Tempest shield up and hold down Molten Strike while your minion deals all the damage. We will talk about what gems to swap on bosses when we get to the gem links. The path of building paste bin is included within the written script and description. We are the Duelist Gladiator Ascendancy. This is one of my favorite Ascendancies next to the Juggernaut for just how much tankiness and utility we can get out of it. Painforge gives us some nice stun immunity on block as well as extra block chance once you are damaged by a hit. Versatile Combatant makes your spell block equivalent to your attack block. Ultimately, this means you can only scale your spell block by getting attack block, but they will always be equivalent. Violent Retaliation raises your max block by 4% and extra 1% block chance per block in the last 10 seconds. This really fills out the rest of any missing block chance once you get it. Blood in the Eyes. This lets us bleed, maim, and blind enemies all in one go. Here's the Ascendancy progression. This is the final passive tree. As you can see, we grab all of the block and minion nodes that are efficient to get within our pathing, along with life and jewel sockets. For bandits, we will be killing all of them. Leveling trees can be found within the description and written guide. For major pantheons, I chose Soul of Arakali just for the increased life recovery rate proccing with our Immortal Call and Blood Rage, along with other reductions it provides. For miners, Soul of Shikari is a good all-arounder as it gives us more general chaos reduction and poison avoidance. For our main 6 link, we will have Herald of Agony linked up. This will be for clearing, and you'll want to make sure the minion has as much movement and attack speed as possible so it'll keep up with you. Map bosses should be no issue for this setup. I played around with swapping in faster attacks on this setup or vicious projectiles. Either works. Now for the endgame bossing, we swap to the heavy hitting gems as we do not need as much attack speed or movement speed during these encounters. Again, physical to lightning works wonders with our elemental equilibrium. You can also play around with different combinations for the clearing and bossing setup for mapping to see what best suits you. I found that until maybe after level 90, the amount of mana available was way too small to spam Molten Strike with high attack speed. You would generally bottom out the mana between attacks, causing some stutter, meaning that you would need a level 2 or 3 Enlighten. If you do get enough mana to make it comfortable, you could drop Enlighten for Convocation or cast when damage taken to automate your Blood Rage. I placed my Molten Strike in an Elder Claw that had socketed gems are supported by Multi-Strike and Poison. This gives us an effective 5 link and nearly 100% chance to poison. On endgame bosses, I swap Ancestral Call for Fortify to keep it up 100% of the time. This build will work on all rare items, but does require some specific rares to make it work optimally. Just make sure that you avoid getting any added cold or lightning damage to attacks, as this will mess up the pure fire elemental equilibrium debuff to cold and lightning for the crawler. I chose to go with a Herald of Agony enchanted helmet. The extra 2 projectiles help out a lot with clearing and can add a lot of damage on the barrage attack he uses. I crafted one myself and landed with some decent mods for what I needed. The enchant is not required, however. You could instead use a bone helmet or another rare helmet. The Coming Calamity is an excellent choice for boosting the damage of the Agony Crawler. Sure, we don't get any defenses, but the Crawler gets +2 levels, which is huge, as well as making its reservation a set 45%. This lets us run a Generosity Hatred. If you cannot get this chest, you can use a nice rare with life, or a unique that fits the coloring for the main links. I was able to 4 off-color my Calamity with Farici after about 400 chromes. A rare pair of Elder Gloves fit this build very nicely. They have the plus chance to block attacks affix that greatly helps us get to our max block. Other than this mod, we just want life, attack speed if we can get it, and resistances. Boots just need to carry life, movement speed, and resistances. There are really no useful enchants for us, so you could definitely look at taking some 2-tone boots instead. Same as the boots, we just want life, resistances, and possibly flask effects here. The Anvil is a top choice for us. It gives us block chance as well as increasing our maximum block chance. You can even look at getting a corrupted version with the block implicit for more block chance, since these are such common amulets. If you for some reason can't get a normal version of this amulet, a rare with life, attributes, and resistances can also work. For rings, we're going to need to look for a lot of attributes, specifically dexterity. This will come down to our rings and jewelry since the amulet is taken by the anvil unique, which does not have any. Beyond that, you just really need life and resistances, but you can keep your eye out for elder rings with the plus life gained by enemies hit by your attacks. I had this ring laying around my stash and decided to put it to use in this build for some more sustain. Now for the weapon, we don't even need to worry about its damage. You will want to get an Elder Claw that has a life gain on hit implicit, with at least socketed gems are supported by poison, as this will give you nearly the 100% chance to poison, so you will always maintain virulence stacks. From there, look to additionally get socketed gems are supported by multi-strike, and then socketed gems are supported by Ancestral Call. Of course, as you add more of these modifiers, the claws get much more expensive. I was able to snag this claw for about 6 chaos, but I am not sure of the current prices of the dual supported gem claws. If you only get poison support, drop faster attacks from your main links and toss in multi-strike. Just make sure that your claw does not have flat lightning or flat cold damage on it, as that will ruin your elemental equilibrium. I chose the Lion Eyes Remorse Shield to make up for the armor and life lost by using the Coming Calamity. It also has a great block base. I really wanted to get a Shaper's Touch rare shield with recover percentage life when you block, but those are quite expensive with high block chance and some life. So I chose just to stay with this shield for now. Flasks are mainly just for utility on this build, so you can really choose whichever you'd like for the situation that you were in. I chose to use a Granite Flask that had an Iron Skin suffix to get a lot of extra armor. This could also be swapped for a Basalt Flask with the same suffix. A Sulfur Flask for just some more life regeneration as we stand still on bosses. Quicksilver Flask for movement speed with shield charge and to offset the Lion Eyes Remorse. A Silver Flask for generic attack and movement speed increases, and finally a Life Flask just for removing ailments and panic scenarios. I will show example jewels used in my build within the video and leave the affix priority in the written guide. For unique jewels, we are using 2 Wildfire jewels, and this helps with our utility of Molten Strike for sustain and for applying poisons. For rare jewels, you will need a 1 jewel with +2 mana gain for each enemy hit by your attacks to sustain your Molten Strike. For the rest of the jewels, we benefit much more from percentage minion damage scaling, so regular jewels would be best, but can be expensive since minions only have 1 damage mod on them. Abyss jewels have much more utility on them, and can get the percentage damage with bound fossil crafting. For more about leveling, check out the written guide. Well, I know that this was another build with balls, but they served a different purpose, I swear. I'm not addicted. They're also blue. Overall, I found this build to be an excellent candidate for doing all the content in the game, dealing exceptional damage for a relatively small budget in comparison. If you're looking for another minion build but want some more durability and, balls, this is the minion build that you will want to take for a whirl. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Exile.